Last time we discussed how an Isha becomes a Nida Mida Araisa, which is through a Hargasha, or if she's engaging in certain activities which we have to assume or suspect that perhaps she had a Hargasha at that moment and just didn't realize it, and therefore it's a suffix de Araisa. You're not in the parsha of Kesamim yet. However, a lot of other situations where a lady is having dam that comes out of her when she's not having Hargasha, when she's not engaging in any of those activities that we spoke about last week, and therefore you can assume that this is a regular kesem. However, we also mentioned last week, and we should mention again, that not every time that an Isha has dam without a Hargasha or without engaging those activities is it going to fall under the broad spectrum of Kesamim. It could be that amount of dam that came out is already considered a period. Therefore, if an Isha is consistently staining for a day, 2 days, 3 days, that already could fall into the spectrum of a period, and therefore we have to be careful with that. But let's just assume, for our purposes, that we're dealing with an isolated time of a kesem, and we'll discuss that situation. So, 2 other quick hakdamas before we get to the coolest that we have by Kesamim. Number 1 is that a lot of times a lady will get a kesem and it'll be tahar, 100% tahar, nothing to worry about. Most poskim will tell you that in that situation she should be pirish from her husband. They should not engage in relations for 24 hours. And the reason is that time is tested already so a lot of times an Isha will have a tahar kesem, which is just a precursor to what's about to come, which is a full-blown period. And therefore, it's the safest thing, because nobody wants to get into any shilas of being together when an Isha is Tamei Midaraisa or Tamei Nida, or if she becomes a Nida during relations. That's also a big, big shilah, and not something that anybody wants to get themselves into. And therefore, even a Tahar Kasem, it's the safest approach is to be pirish, to not have relations for 24 hours. Number 2 is that a lot of times a lady will be prone to staining around certain times of the month. She'll always stain, let's say, Rosh Chodesh. So she'll stain Rosh Chodesh Nisan, Rosh Chodesh Iyar, Rosh Chodesh Sivan, and let's say she's even Tamei. They asked the Shaila Rosh Chodesh Nisan and she was Tamei. And they asked the Shaila Rosh Chodesh Iyar was Tamei, and the same thing was Chodesh Sivan. So now she was Tamei for Kesamim 3 months in a row on the same exact day. Well, maybe you'll start thinking, well, maybe she's Kaveya Ves now. Maybe we have to suspect now that she's a Ves Kavua to have stains on Rosh Chodesh. But the halacha is that no, there is no vestis when it comes to Kesamim. So even if she has a Kesamim 3 months in a row on the same day, she is not considered Kaveya Vest, and she will not have the general regular halachas of a lady that's suspecting for a certain day that her vest will come, or in this situation, that she will have a stain. Now, the first heter, the first kula that we can discuss is the kula of a gris. So a gris is a certain amount of dam. So not every little drop of dam that comes out of an Isha is going to be tamei. The Rabbanan made a shear that only if a certain amount of dam, a gris size, comes out of an Isha, then she will be tamei. How big is a gris? It's a shaila in the poskim. Some say a penny, some say a nickel. It's not something that you should be measuring yourself. You should be giving to Rav. There's different ways to measure it. It's not always exactly perfect circular also, so there's different ways to measure it, and therefore that shaila should be asked. However, if it's just a drop of dam, it's a little drop of dam, so then you can know already that that's not going to be a tamei mara, because it's going to be less than a gris. However, the time that the time that you need a gris is only when you don't know for sure that the dam came from Isamakan. Now, most of the time we can assume, even if it's on undergarments, we can assume that we don't know for sure 100% that this dam came from Isamakan. However, there are certain times when an Isha will feel liquidy, or they'll feel something strange, and they'll say, I just want to see what's going on there. And they'll take a garment, they'll take a tissue, they'll take something, and they'll put it by Isamakam, only by Isamakam, and a little drop of dam will come out. So in that situation, the Rabbanan said it's going to be usher even if it's less than a gris. So you can't assume that, if I just did a little tiny drop, I didn't do a bedika, of course, I just put the cloth there or whatever, and just a drop of dam came out. No, that's going to be a serious shayla. Now, you may have other heterim of Kesamim, it's still considered a kesem, but you're not going to have the kula of a gris. One other thing is that there's a halacha that what happens if a lady has a bunch of little drops of dam on her beged. So there's a drop here, drop there, drop there. Each drop by itself does not equal a gris, but all together they do equal a gris. And in that situation, the halacha is machlokes, but we paskin that it's going to be tar. It's going to be a tar mara, and it does not combine together to equal a gris. However, if the little drops of dam are on her actual body, then in that situation they would combine to a gris. So we have to be careful. The little drops on the beged are not going to combine. The little drops on her guf are going to combine to a gris, and that could be a make her tameh midrabanan.